Ron Rolene, thank you all for being here. Today we celebrate your commitment to servicing the military needs of the United States of America. It is a great honor to have these distinguished veterans in attendance with us at Fort Gratiot Middle School today. Thank you for your duty, your sacrifice, and your patriotism. Ms. Hunwick and our 8th grade students, we also thank you for envisioning and planning this celebration. Ms. Hunwick.
In just a moment, our varsity cheerleaders are coming to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. But before they do, I'd like to share some thoughts from some of our students, from some of you, about the pledge. Students, as I say your name, please stand where you are. Rest of us, please refrain from clapping. I want you to listen to the words that your classmates wrote about what they think of when they pledge to the American flag every morning. Carrie Scheffler wrote, "When I pledge allegiance to the flag, it makes me think of the freedom and privileges we have in our country that other countries can't even imagine. I think how lucky I am, and I remember not to take advantage of that freedom. I look at the flag and picture all of the soldiers fighting for our country, and I hope that they are safe." Dylan Steele. Dylan wrote, "When I pledge allegiance to the flag, it reminds me that I don't have to be afraid that maybe I'll wake up one morning in a dictatorship. I know we'll always be a republic, free to vote on laws, on taxes, on our president." Emily Wilton. She may be absent today. I think she was. Where is she? Emily, thank you. Emily wrote, "When I pledge allegiance to the flag, it makes me think of all the sacrifices that were made for that flag to be standing. I think of what that small piece of fabric represents. The red, white, and blue with the 50 stars and the 13 stripes is a reminder that our freedom came with great sacrifice." Alexis Wirtz. Alexis wrote, "When I pledge allegiance to the flag, it makes me think of all the people who believed in something more than themselves. They believed in future generations growing up and becoming whatever they wanted to be." Timmy Parker. Timmy? Timmy wrote, "When I pledge allegiance to the flag, I think of how our country was established and the ways that we have kept providing freedom for the people in our country." And finally, Sydney Ralkin. Sydney wrote, "When I pledge allegiance to the flag, it makes me think of our soldiers out there fighting for us and protecting our country. Every single day when I'm standing up straight, left hand behind my back, right hand over my heart, looking up at that flag, I imagine soldiers spreading out our flag in a rectangle and marching down the street with cheering and laughter, or soldiers in uniform running across fields with their weapons fully loaded, yelling, 'Man down,' as they try to rescue a fellow soldier. Our flag represents our country and those sacrifices." And now, let's stand and pledge allegiance to the flag, and varsity cheerleaders will lead us in the pledge. Come up here for one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm sorry, you can remain standing for our national anthem. Thank you, cheerleaders, and thank you, Miss Armstrong and our 8th grade band. And thank you, everyone, for coming this morning to be honored and to honor our veterans. This is a very special day set aside to honor our men and women who have served in the United States military. The PowerPoint presentation was created by Fort Gratiot students as a tribute to you. Originally, this day was called Armistice Day to honor the end of World War I on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. In 1954, it was renamed Veterans Day to honor all veterans of all eras. Our veterans have endured rigorous training, hardship, pain, loneliness, and sacrifice as they committed themselves to the defense of the United States of America. Many have made the ultimate sacrifice, and we remember them today as well. One of the most important charges as we become teachers is to help our students learn about the rights and responsibilities of citizenship. Our social studies students have studied the history of the founding of our country, including the many sacrifices made by our first veterans of the Revolutionary War, and about the treasonous acts of our first patriots when they signed the Declaration of Independence. We've talked about service, patriotism, and heard firsthand accounts on video from veterans of different eras. The first week of school, students were challenged to choose 2 service projects they'd like to support this year. And the top 2 choices, again, were our soldiers and our elderly citizens. Today is all about seeing, meeting, and honoring some of our community's heroes. Please sit back and enjoy the Armed Forces Salute performed by our 8th grade band and directed by our very own veteran, Ms. Cindy Armstrong, who was the first female member of the Commandant's Own of the United States Marine Corps. Cindy? Veterans, I'd like to share some words of appreciation from these students for what your service means to them. Students, please stand and remain standing as I read a portion of your writing. Damian Pearson. Damian says, Veterans Day is the day that everyone should recognize our veterans for their service. I have had many veterans in my family, so it holds a special place in my heart. I would like to thank you for putting your life on the line for our freedom. I appreciate all you have done and sacrificed for me and for our country. God bless America. Jason Reed. Jason writes, America is a powerful nation, but it wouldn't even be a nation if it wasn't for you. No matter what branch you were in, you are very important to America. Whenever I see a flag or hear the Star-Spangled Banner, I think of veterans. Maddie Ringvelski. Maddie writes, some of you have seen people just like yourselves give the ultimate sacrifice. You were lucky enough to make it home, and I'm so glad. People come into our lives for a reason, and you've been able to tell tales of heroics, loyalty, compassion, and bravery to your children, your grandchildren, nieces, nephews, and others. You are an enormous part of making our country a safer place. Stephanie Matrink. Stephanie writes, my father was in the military and just recently retired, correct, Stephanie? He and my family have been through what you have experienced, the pain and hurt of leaving your wife and children. Your work shows us that you care for your country. You have proven to us that you love us. I am proud of you and every person who has left their homes to fight for our beloved country. Lauren McKenzie. Lauren writes, today is all about you. This is your day. All of us honor you. You are our heroes. Andrew Sufis. Andrew writes, I had a friend of mine who fought in World War II who died recently. He told me of being in combat and his men being surrounded by German troops. He was able to save about 20 of his men from death. After I heard this, I realized there are true heroes in the world. This man was one of those, and you are also heroes to me. Thank you so much for defending my freedom and our country. Mimi Sarazin. Mimi writes, the soldiers of Vietnam came home, not to a parade, not to a joyous people, but to angry mobs yelling and spitting on them. It took many years, but finally their service and loyalty is being respected, honored, and appreciated. Thank you. Devin Tomlinson. Devin writes, I think of the people in my classroom, and I wonder if we will serve our country in a great way that would make other people know we are patriots. I think of how the veterans have done their part. Everyone in America should be very proud to be an American. Katie Hunkler. Katie writes, although America means freedom, kindness, and courage, to me, it means more than that. It means home. That warm, cozy, happy, safe place called home is the real America. And finally, an anonymous student, and I'm going to read this entire essay, and they really did sign it, student of Ms. Hunwick's class, so I don't know who wrote it, student, but you should have signed your name because this is awesome. I can't thank you enough for what you've done for our country. Whether you were drafted into war or went in of your own accord doesn't matter. What matters are your actions, and your actions prove that you cared enough about our country that you were willing to give everything, possibly even your life, to protect our country and what it stands for. It's true that I can't even begin to imagine what you went through, what you witnessed, felt, lost, none of it. And that makes me feel even more in your debt. I hope you are proud of what you've done and happy to be able to be part of the reason our country is what it is. I hope when you hear our nation's song, it fills you to the brim with pride and puts a lump in your throat and a tear in your eye as you reminisce. This ceremony is all about you, dearest veterans. Think of it as your thank you. Here's to you, a million thank yous. And thank you. And now, in honor of our fallen soldiers, many of you told me of grandfathers and uncles and fathers, even in one case, and great-granddads and grandmas who have served and who have passed on. Now, in honor of all of our fallen soldiers, Mr. Otto Warren will play taps. Please stand for that. Oh, he didn't bring it? Okay, okay. We'll come back to that. Have a seat. Just like in the classroom, we never know. Okay. We're used to this. It's okay. We're teachers and students know we always have different plans, don't we? Okay. I'm going to honor our some of our well, all of our honored guests. Hopefully, I'm going to call their names, but I'm going to start with our honored guard. Okay. So you see some of the men and women are dressed a little bit differently, and they are our honor guard that normally, if I have this right, are ones that do military honors at the funerals, okay, and other types of celebratory things. So if you would stand when I call your name, I will tell the students a little bit about you. Charles Wybrew, U.S. Marine Corps, 1952 to 1960, served in Korea. Mr. Alan Hyde, Army, 3 years in Europe. Mr. Wayne Weaver, United States Marine Corps, 1967 to 1969. Vietnam, 68 and 69. Tom Meinhardt, United States Army, 66 through 68 in Vietnam. Dave Deere, United States Navy and United States Marine Corps, 1963 through 1967. Vietnam, 65 through 66. Jerry Shemansky, United States Marine Corps, Vietnam, 4 years in the Marine Corps. Ed Harrison, Army, 1968 to 1967, Republic of Panama. Don Wade, United States Navy, 1945 to 1949, the Pacific, World War II era, right after that. James Nipper, United States Army, 10 years. He was in Vietnam 27 months from 1967 to 1969. Barry Harrison, United States Marine Corps, 1965 to 1969. And Otto Warden, that's going to play taps for us, was in the United States Army, 1946 to 47 in the Pacific. And did I give him enough time? Is he back? No? Okay. All right, let's go ahead while we're doing the introductions, and I'm going to call your name. Please stand when I call your name. And students, we've talked about all the different eras, and we have them from all of them, from World War II, from Korea, from Vietnam, from Iraq, Afghanistan, Desert Storm. So I'm going to read when they served and what branch they were in. John Allison, United States Marine Corps. Cindy Armstrong, United States Marine Corps, 78 to 80. John Beebe, United States Air Force, retired, 1982 to 2009. Michigan Air National Guard. Alan Burry, United States Army, Vietnam. Jake Hostick, United States Air Force, 1954 to 1974. Wayne Crankshaw, United States Army Infantry, World War II, Field Artillery Group Headquarters, Invasion. And I know Mr. Crankshaw has different medals. He's been with us before in our assembly and shared with us. Don Daniels, United States Army, World War II. Dave Deere, that I already called his name, so I'm not going to go. He's our Veteran of the Year of St. Clair County, part of the Honor Guard, and he will be a speaker also. Richard Denville, U.S. Army, 1961 to 1963. We have the three Dickinson brothers here again. All 6 brothers served, and we have 3 of them with us. Don Dickinson with the United States Army right after World War II. Jim Dickinson with the Army in Korea, and Leroy Dickinson with the Army in World War II, and he was at the D-Day occupation. Okay, yeah. We have another family set when we get down to them. Benjamin Dusha, United States Army, Iraq, and he is a sergeant. Richard Evans, United States Army, Korean era, served in Germany. Ronald Evans, United States Army, Vietnam, 1966 to 1968, 554th Company. Mr. Fernandez could not be with us today, he's ill. Christopher Garcia, United States Army, United States Navy with the Seabees. He's currently serving since 2002. Joe Herber, who has been a huge help to me in organizing this today. He and Mr. Meinhardt I've talked to a lot. He's U.S. Army retired, served in Vietnam. He's with the Charles Hammond American Legion, Post 8, VFW number 796, and the DMZ veterans. Armand Hillock, U.S. Army World War II. Dave Johnson, United States Marine Corps, Vietnam. Jim Leslie, U.S. Army, Vietnam, awarded the Silver Star. Ralph Little, U.S. Navy SEAL, Vietnam. Grant Loughran, this is Mrs. Christenberry's father, kids, our assistant principal's dad. U.S. Navy and United States Marine Corps, World War II and Korea. He was a medic and he was awarded the Bronze Star. Leslie Luther, U.S. Army, Vietnam. James Lynch, U.S. Army, Korea. Will McLaughlin, another one of our teachers right over here, United States Marine Corps. And two Marines that are teachers here. Tom Meinhardt, U.S. Army, Vietnam. He's the Region 5 Director of Vietnam Veterans of America. Gary Moore, United States Air Force, Vietnam. Doug Nelson, U.S. Army, Vietnam, 1968 to 1969. Tiffany O'Connor, U.S. Navy, 2004 to 2008. For all of you that were at the beginning and they were holding their applause, I apologize. Go ahead and we'll clap after each one, okay? They deserve it. If it takes a couple extra minutes, it's okay. Gary Piper, U.S. Navy, Vietnam era, 1963. Troy Piper, U.S. Army, 1990 to 1994. Just let me say what branch it's up, then clap, okay? Chad Post, U.S. Army, Afghanistan and Iraq, and he's a staff sergeant. Kenneth Radigan, U.S. Army. Paul Reaney, U.S. Navy, 1990 to 1994. Edwin Salty Schultz, U.S. Army, World War II, awarded the Silver Star. Alan Silver, U.S. Army, Vietnam, 66 to 69. Charles Snyder, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Ray Samagi, Sr., U.S. Army, Vietnam. He was a sergeant from 65 to 67, and all of 1967, he was in the Mekong Delta. Sergeant William Symington, U.S. Army and Marine Corps, was in Desert Storm in Cuba in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. We're going to claim this guy too. These kids all know him and see him often as one of our substitutes. Chuck Teller, U.S. Navy, Vietnam. And he's with the American Legion Post 8, Post Adjutant, VFW, Post 796, and Mr. Teller's been a big help too with us. Harvey Cox, U.S. National Guard from 71 to 92. Troy Weathers, U.S. Navy, 1978 to 1984. Second World War. Gary Wiswell. Gary Wiswell, U.S. Army, Vietnam era. Mr. Otto Warden will be playing taps for us in a little bit. Charles Zimmer, U.S. Army, Vietnam, Charlie Company. I'm not sure I'm going to say this right, 322 25th Infantry Division, and he's one of our speakers also. Harold Delore, U.S. Army, 1961 to 67. Thomas Titus, U.S. Marine Corps, Iraq, 2003 to 2007. Josh Sparling, U.S. Army, 2004 to 2008, and Josh was wounded in Iraq. Now, there's 4 with the same name, and I think it's a dad and 3 sons, but I got this information secondhand. Are the Kiesels here? The 4 Kiesels? Yes? Is it a father and 3 sons? Am I correct? Okay. Richard Kiesel, United States Air Force. Matthew Kiesel, United States Navy, submarine duty. Mark Kiesel, U.S. Army, Iraq. Michael Kiesel, U.S. Navy, the Admiralship. Tim Elsholz, United States Navy, from 82 to 87.
It's an honor to be here. And myself and all my brother veterans, they're very appreciative of you remembering us on Veterans Day. Sandy asked me to give a little biography about myself. I was born in Canada, up in Parry Sound. I was raised here in Port Huron and went through the school district of Port Huron, graduating in 1962. You all remember that? It's a long time ago, wasn't it? I went in the Navy in '63 and went through hospital corps school. And then I was stationed at Great Lakes Naval Hospital as a ward corpsman. In 1965, when Vietnam started heating up, I went with the Marine Corps as a FMF corpsman, they call it, Fleet Marine Force, and served in the northern section of Vietnam, both in a hospital and on the ground with the grunts, as we call them, the guys that hump the toolies, so to speak, in the boonies. And I came back, and I was living in Chicago till 1978, and then I moved back up here to Port Huron. And I've been in a number of veterans groups, the VFW, the American Legion, Vietnam veterans and such. And that's about all I have now, but we truly appreciate everything you kids do in remembering us old veterans. Thank you.
And now we'll hear a few words from Mr. Chuck Zimmer.
This is awesome. Thank you all for having me and all of our veterans here. Thank you. This is my first time that I really felt that everybody kind of knows what veterans are going through today. And this is an awesome feeling. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for doing what you did today. This is awesome, and salute the band. Beautiful job, band, beautiful job. And well, my little story is, I'm an infantryman, Vietnam, 69, 70. I'm a Bronze Star, Army Commendation with a V device for heroism.
You're taller than I am.
I'm
But
sorry.
No, you're
Okay.
fine.
I'm legally blind. I have a little vision with my left eye, and it's kind of hard for me to get through this, but I'm just going to bypass this. I'm going to offer this to the school here. If you want to put it on your bulletin board, you're more than welcome to have this. And there isn't much to say except that I remember one incident that we got ambushed pretty bad, and I had to go back in 3 days later to get my lieutenant back. I was a RTO in a reconnaissance squad, and we had a bad day, and we had to go assault on line against the enemy. We were up against a battalion with our company against the battalion. That's a pretty good size. So 3 days of hell. So I'm sorry, but we went into Woodline. I got the lieutenant. I carried him back, and as I was carrying him back about a quarter of a mile, we were almost running, trying to run. I remember one thing. As I got halfway back, his arm, the soldier, he was passed away for 3 days. A lot of bullet holes, a lot of wounds. I'm sorry to be so rude about that in a way, but his arm kept hitting my leg. And I said, man, this is crazy. Me being a little bow-legged like I am there, kept really hitting it, you know. And so I looked down there as his leg was hit. It was like a warning. I noticed something. I noticed that his University of Purdue graduation ring was on that hand. Well, after 3 days, his body started deteriorating evidently, and the ring just kind of slid off his finger. And I stopped, and I didn't want to stop, but I had to stop. Picked that up, and walked up to my captain, I said, here's a man that's educated, graduated. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, Charlie, he is. And I said, this man had a great education, a good life, and how critical it is that he went over and fought for us and had a great life going for himself back in the States, and he could have probably found a way to get out of it, but he decided to go ahead and fight for his country to preserve those freedoms. And the freedom of which you people are all here for today is education. And that's my biggest pet peeve with my own 4 children that I have. Every one of them have a degree, which I never had. But I went to hard school, Knox, like probably a lot of guys here. But it's all good, and basically that's kind of what I have to say is that please continue to fight for these rights. Don't let us down. Don't ever let us down. And I want to thank you. All right.
Might have my note too. I'm gonna need those. Thanks. Okay, our students have been contributing items for our soldiers who are serving overseas. And Mrs. Farley's students kind of organized this, and the whole student body has been contributing. They're going to take these items out to Mr. Teller's car, and they're going to be sending boxes to our soldiers who are serving overseas. So right now, Devin Dion is going to come to the podium and tell us a little bit more about this project.
As many of you know, Mrs. Farley's first hour started a donation for the U.S. military. Now the whole school has joined in. I want to say thank you all for helping out the cause. I also want to give a personal thank you to Mr. Teller over there for taking all the items down to the American Legion and being generous enough to do it, where they will then be shipped overseas to the soldiers. I also want to give a thank you for all the veterans who came today and for everything that you've done for this country. And one more thing, I want all of you to remember, if it wasn't for these people out there and the ones overseas risking and giving their lives so we can live ours, we wouldn't have everything we had today. No freedoms, no right, nothing. But what we all have to remember is that there's more meaning to freedom than just being free, and we can't take any of that for granted.
Thank you, Devin. We hear lots of times about, what's this world coming to in this next generation? This is your next generation, and we're pretty proud of you. And now we're going to hear the band again with Stars and Stripes Forever. Now, please, you know who you were? Trevor, yeah, Jackie. Okay, it looks like, yep. Damien and Alex, you can come too, because evidently we got a couple absent, okay? Just make sure each of the veterans just take one and start passing them to our veterans, okay? Yep, all of these. Not much, it's just a little token of our appreciation. And this grew even bigger than I thought, so I'm hoping I don't run out. If I do, I'm so sorry, because I bought everything they had in Fort here that looked patriotic. I think, okay, just if we run out, then we can, okay, don't have enough. David, they each just get one thing, honey. One bag, one or the other. Yeah, just one or the other. Thanks, that's okay, honey. He's just being really generous, yeah. You could give him 10 and it wouldn't be enough. Go all the way back, sweetie, and see if everybody back there got one. Anybody not get a bag in the back? Yeah. Here, we got some over here, honey. Okay, while we're finishing up with those, I'd like to read a poem that's a Veterans Day tribute. When America had an urgent need, these brave ones raised a hand. No hesitation held them back. They were proud to take a stand. They left their friends and family. They gave up normal life to serve their country and their God. They plowed into the strife. They fought for freedom and for peace on strange and foreign shores. Some lost new friends, some lost their lives in long and brutal wars. Other veterans answered a call to support the ones who fought. Their country had requirements for the essential skills they brought. We salute each and every one of them, the noble and the brave, the ones still with us here today, and those who rest in a grave. So here's to our country's heroes. They're cut above the rest. Let's give the honor that is due to our country's very best. I would ask the greeters if you would please step away from the bleachers over here because you're going to escort our guests to the media center. The rest of the students, you need to go to your first hour class and get your books. Let's give our veterans a hand.